Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everybody. Today I've got a review for your Generation Selects War for Cybertron Siege Deluxe Smokescreen toy. He comes in at War for Cybertron Generation Selects 06. And naturally, he is a mold mate of the other Datsun Deluxe characters that have come out in this line, namely Prowl, Blue Streak, and even Barricade. He is technically a redeco of Barricade. Maybe Barricade's a redeco of him, depending on who was designed first, whatever. So that means he's got a new head compared to Prowl and Blue Streak. Now this is the fourth toy of this mold I'll be reviewing, so don't expect this review to last too long, just because there's not much new to see. But at least now I can give some complete group shots of the four characters. I do have Masterpiece Smokescreen to compare them to. If you've seen my reviews before, you know how this works. We're going to take a look at the toy's packaging, we're going to take a look at his instructions, and then we'll look at Smokescreen himself, both in his vehicle and robot modes, along with some comparisons, group shots, all that fun stuff. And then at the end I'll give my final thoughts. So his packaging is your standard fare Generation Selects mailer box with the Siege decorations on it. Got his label on the front there. Put it up, and front and center you have Smokescreen. And from the early renders, he's missing some colors. He ended up having a lot more black on his body than they originally advertised, which I think is a shame. It just there's less color variation there. It doesn't look quite as fleshed out, which is probably my main criticism of him so far without having opened it. Hopefully the joints and everything are good. You can see he's got the same exact weapons as Blue Streak, both the shoulder cannons and the main rifle that comes from Prowl, and they're done up in a white. These are white plastic. The gun is actually painted white. You see the blue in there. And then behind him is the instructions, so let's look at those. Right here we've got Smokescreen's instructions. It's got a very neutral stance from him. It's kind of got that anime effect going on where the eyes are shaded. In fact, he very much looks like an anime character, doesn't he? Anywho, so yeah, there's the front. Inside, you have his transformation to his car mode with weapon storage. This shows you where to attach his weapons in his robot mode. Backside, you got your usual stuff with the Battle Masters, Micromasters. And then you have his weapon loadouts. And unlike Blue Streak, who technically came out before this guy, he still uses English for the names of his weapons. So, you know, this toy was obviously already planned and produced and everything before they made that change. But yeah, his shoulder cannons are the W50 Volt Beam Cannon. And then his rifle is a W45 Acid Pellet Blaster, which I believe are the exact same names of Blue Streak's weapons, so, yeah, kind of lost their creativity there. Alright, here's Smokescreen's vehicle mode, based on, you know, the old Datsun car like the others are. And of course he's got his guns mounted on top. Feel free to take those off if you want. And it's pretty sleek looking. It rolls well, just like the others. This very almost garish, you know, red, white, and blue color scheme. And one big difference you'll notice between this and the renders is that they changed the characters that appear on his hood and the two doors. Originally, the renders, they were just kind of made up alien script that just visually resembled the number 38, because the original Smokescreen toy had, you know, a 38 because it was supposed to be like a racing car on there. Then they went and changed it, and I looked up the alphabet and I couldn't find these characters, you know, from A through Z. So I'm thinking maybe what Hasbro did is they went and actually expanded that character set to include numbers, and, you know, this might be a 3 and an 8. That's my guess. I couldn't find these anywhere to translate, so just have to speculate there. But, you know, the car mode looks just as good as ever. It's got its own unique spin on things where it's done up like a racing car instead of a, you know, luxury car or police vehicle. Speaking of luxury cars and police vehicles, here are the other four Datsuns. You got Prowl, Blue Streak, and Barricade, the bad one. And it's really neat looking at these all side by side. It looks like you walked into a car dealership in the 1980s and you're just like, let me see your selection, right? And it's nice to finally kind of get the full group. see these, what they call Praxian Natives. They've dubbed them because they're apparently from Praxis. And you can see between the 4 of them, these 2 have the exact same weapons loadout. So the most heavily armed out of the 4 car guys. Right here's Smokescreen in his robot mode. And as I mentioned before, there's just a little bit too much black on him. I really wish they would have added more colors, especially in like the pelvic region, just to break it up a bit. And I could be wrong, but I think there's 2 different shades of black or dark gray. There's this very dark black, and then these legs look like they're a different shade of plastic. So maybe it's an optical illusion. I'm not sure. As you can see, his 2 shoulder guns are molded in white, whereas his rifle here is molded in blue and just painted white. So they don't color match perfectly. This winds up being a little bit darker because of the blue plastic underneath. As far as tolerances, everything is fine with him. Even after 4 mold uses, Smokescreen still holds nice and tight on all his joints. So you don't have to worry about him ending up like Siege Skywarp. And what's wrong with Siege Skywarp, you ask? Well, I will be covering that in my review of the Phantom Strike Squadron, which is undeniably very late, but it is coming. But yeah, let's just say Skywarp's got some issues. So, Smokescreen does use the same head as Barricade, and, it is Smokescreen's head. Barricade's the one borrowing the design, even though the Barricade toy was released first in this toy line. But, you can take a look at them side by side, and it's funny because even though they have the same face structure, the same expression, the colors help convey kind of a different sense. Whereas Barricade looks genuinely thuggish and angry, Smokescreen just looks more determined, maybe even annoyed. And here's a quick comparison of Smokescreen with his Masterpiece counterpart. And you can see, despite sharing the same general design and color scheme, these 2 actually look very different from one another, as far as the color layout, the shades used, and then the fact that Masterpiece Smokescreen received significantly more retooling from his base mold of Prowl than this one did. You can see a lot of effort went into, especially like the car hood, the upper arms. His shoulder cannons are unique to him, so they have a very different silhouette than these do. And overall, this is just a much more accurate representation of the character in his original design. So this does unfortunately highlight some of the flaws of the Siege Datsun mold, and the relatively small amount of work that went into setting each character apart from one another. But you also have to consider you're comparing a $20 toy to a, I'm not even sure what this guy retailed for, 60, 70, 80, somewhere around there. Much more expensive, so they're able to take a lot more liberties with the design. This comparison does also help me realize just how awesome Masterpiece Smokescreen is. Definitely glad I picked that guy up. And here's a look at all 4 of our boys in their robot modes. And they all have a lot of character to them, a lot of uniqueness. I wasn't the biggest fan of this mold when I reviewed Prowl way back when, and I still stand by the fact that I think it is one of the weaker deluxe molds from Siege. It just feels a lot lighter, a lot flimsier than the other deluxes, or maybe Chromia. But I can't argue that it isn't a very versatile mold. Despite the fact that they did minimal retooling between these guys. There's only 2 sets of heads between them, and then the bodies are identical in shape. They did do a good job of capturing, the look of the original Datsun toys, and then even a new spin on that design. So I gotta give them props for that. Overall, I'm happy with the way these turned out, despite the flaws. I still wish that Prowl had his own set of shoulder guns, though. It's gonna bother me forever. These white ones probably look pretty good on him, though they might blend in too much. I'd still say go for the silver, if you do want to, hook Prowl up. But yeah, hope you enjoy kind of sticking it out with me as we looked at this toy essentially 4 times now, and I hope each variation of it was, interesting and exciting to learn about. I'm going to go ahead and end the review here, so feel free to let me know down below in the comments section what you thought of this, what you think of Smokescreen, what you think of the mold overall, what you thought of my review of it. Is there something else you would have liked to have seen? If you did enjoy the review, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like it or any of my other content, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me today, and with all that said, I will see you next time.